Hi, everyone. Russell Less Dynamic. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're ready, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a bloody good subscribe. A little bit different today, a little bit different to the morning show. It came. The reason why we've done it is obviously yesterday there was news that the Saudi Pro League side Al Hayya were offering 300 million euros, 260 odd million quid for Kylian Mbappe from PSG, making him the most expensive player in the world. If it does go, he'll be first and third in terms of most expensive transfers. That's quite impressive, with Neymar in the middle splitting the difference. And we've had a lot of people ask me about the Saudi Pro League. Russ, what's it all about? It's something which we regularly talk about in terms of our transfer rumours, shows and stuff like that. So I thought I'd spend a little bit of time just talking about it in a bit more detail. I mean, it's fair to say that it is pretty much the story of the summer transfer window. In all honesty, let's be fair. Since last year, I can't remember when it was. Sometimes that Al Nassr signed Cristiano Ronaldo. That was really a stick in the ground moment. A moment when it was clear that the league was going all out to improve its profile and standards. But obviously, for this, we're not going to be talking about any of the political situation or the human rights issues, but we're talking about just the footballing and the sporting perspective. And so, every day it seems that we've been brought news of a new superstar going to the Saudi league or being touted by a Saudi club. And it's clear that the levels of investment in Saudi sport have been there for several years now. We know that boxing has been lots of sort of main event boxing matches are hosted in Saudi Arabia. We've got the golf with Live Golf and the PGA merger that's apparently imminent. Formula One, you've got the Saudi Arabian F1 race. You've got Abu Dhabi. You've got Bahrain. There's definitely at least one more. If not two. And you've got snooker has been Saudi money is going to snooker now, and then horse racing as well as wrestling as well. I think they've got like a 10-year deal with Saudi Arabian government to do 2 like big shows there a year or something like that. So it's always been there, but football seems to be the main focus. And the signing of Ronaldo was really sort of a monumental moment, I think, in terms of how we look at the Saudi League. I mean, if you look at its predecessors, the likes of the MLS and the Chinese Super League, you can see that it's a similar sort of, what's the word? It's a similar formula. Name value is front and center. So Ronaldo started the ball rolling. They get Ronaldo. He's the most followed footballer on social media. He's one of the most recognizable footballers in the world, and that is really similar to what the MLS did with David Beckham, with LA Galaxy, the same type of blueprint, and so in the Chinese Super League as well, they went and bought lots of players who were probably towards the end of their career slightly, but high profile, and that's what the SPL did. They needed the superstar. They needed their poster boy to prove it was a viable destination for footballers. And then they doubled down. Obviously, with the MLS as well, you got in. Obviously, it's still going away along with Inter Miami as well, and Messi at the moment, and obviously David Beckham's Inter Miami side there. But the SPL doubled down. They got Karim Benzema, Ballon d'Or holder. But one of the best player in the world at the time. He became the second major name to join when he signed for Al Ittihad, and then the floodgates were truly opened. Let's be honest. And there was a pattern emerging. 2 global superstars coming in their mid to late 30s, signing massive deals. And it's in the SPL project with me at the time was so far echoing the same as the American and Chinese Super League did, in terms of their similar blueprints, basically bringing big names who are signing, but not doing so, or doing so with their best footballing years behind them, And it even happened before when in football in America as well. The likes of Pele and Bobby Moore going there towards the end of their careers as almost like a commercial it was like a commercial state rather than necessarily for footballing reasons. Now we know money's a huge factor for the Saudi Pro League, but it does seem they were buying sort of over players towards the end of their career, and then that changed when they signed Ruben Neves. This is when I think it changed and deviated from how the MLS and the Chinese Super League behaved. It was a really surprising deal, I think, the Ruben Neves deal. Nobody's doubting the qualities that Ronaldo and Benzema had, or they still possess, but it's fair to say they were towards the end of their career. Neves is 26 years old. He's a player linked with everyone who's going to go to Barcelona, who's going to go to Man United, but no, suddenly he signs for El Ahly. And to me, that's when the paradigm shifted. That's when it moved from being a vanity project to something a little bit more substance behind it. No, I'm not saying that to the MLS. I think the MLS is sort of is adjusted, but definitely towards something like the Chinese Super League, for example. The SPL weren't just looking for veteran talent to come in; they were looking for the most sought after players in their prime. And then El Ahly, then after signing Ruben Neves, then announced the signing of Milenkovic Savic, a guy that we've been linked with. He's been on. He's a veteran of the transfer rumor mill. Let's be honest. Every season, he had no shortage of suitors, including West Ham, were looking at him. But the pool of the Saudi league was too strong. Financially was too strong. Let's be honest. When you see the likes of Jordan Henderson being offered £700,000 a week for a 2-year contract, how can anyone can turn down that money? Really. We have had some instances where the money's been turned down. Diaby, who's just signed for Aston Villa by Leverkusen, he was apparently offered to the Saudi league, and they'd put the money in, and Diaby chose to sign for Aston Villa, despite the fact he's probably going to be on about quarter of what he could have been on if he went to the SPL. But for the majority, that's money's a massive factor. It's that sort of generational wealth we talk about. Now we know the league. La Liga, Serie A have lost a few players to the SPL, but the main hunting ground for them is the Premier League. Is the Premier League, and a number of players have been sold from the Premier League to the Saudi Pro League. We've several still being listed as potentials. Chelsea had several, and again, the implications about the Chelsea selling of them and who they. Saudi Arabia, the PIF invested a lot of money into the company that owns 60% of Chelsea, and maybe a little bit dodgy. But N'Golo Kante went there. You've got the likes of Mendy, you've got Koulibaly. They've all gone there. Man City are looking at flogging Riyad Mahrez to the Saudi League. And then Liverpool obviously just sold Jordan Henderson. Firmino's apparently is chose the SPL as well. Fabinho as well. And don't forget, Steven Gerrard is the manager of Ettifaq. And indeed, even West Ham's own Mikel Antonio has been touted by that same side for a move to the SPL. But it's not even just the top league that's being invested. And again, this is something which, again, detaches it slightly for me from the experiments of the Chinese Super League and the MLS to some extent. The whole Saudi football pyramid is being invested in that. In fact, a third division Saudi player could earn, a foreign-based player, £100,000 a week, plus house, plus a car. And that's not just hearsay. That's from an advert in Football Jobs, which was put in by the Saudi Football Association, asking for, and I've got it here because it's brilliant, because if you're a fullback, you're buggered. Where is it? It's an urgent need for active centre forwards, wingers, central attacking midfielders, central defensive midfielders, and centre backs from abroad. So if you're a goalkeeper or a fullback, no chance. Sorry, mate. So it's the whole division. So for someone who's playing League One in Britain, for example, in England, the pool to go into Saudi Arabia earning £100,000 a week, £100,000 a year, rather £3,000 a week, roughly, not over £3. It's 150 grand, mate. Is massive, particularly if you're a proverbial League One player and you just get moved between League One clubs. The ability to do something different. Huge ability, and money, which huge money for them, huge money. But it does seem that the Premier League is the name value of the global of the Premier League is what is really driving this in terms of why so many of the Premier League players are going there. There's a keenness. It's commercially the most expensive or the richest league in the world, the Premier League, and the influx of England's top division players into the country's top teams is bound to draw eyeballs, with commercially outside, but also in the country as well. But beyond the fact that Saudi clubs are buying from English Premier League sides, there does seem to be sort of two reasonings. One is the high profile nature and what it's going to bring from an outsider's, but also from an internal perspective as well. We've spoken about the likes of, Kante, the likes of Benzema, the likes of, Riyad Mahrez, for example. These guys are Muslim-based players. They're Muslim talent, and it does seem that the league is trying to highlight Muslim talent. And it's a sound strategy, in my opinion. It's the primary religion of Saudi Arabia. So not only is it trying to bring in high-profile Muslim players, will improve, get more kids involved in wanting to play football, get more companies involved in wanting to invest in football as well, which would only be good for their national side as well. So, there was, in the same way that, you've got, the Saudi Arabian side internationally are, great in they're one of the top sides in Asia, in the Asian Cup and stuff like that. They beat Argentina in the World Cup as well, didn't they? So, it would improve the nation. So, when you look at it, there does seem to be almost two levels of criteria. Usually the players they're bringing in are over the age of 30. And typically the incoming player will be a big name, often one of the Premier League top clubs we'd be signing from. The players being sought after most often will be Muslim-based players, in keeping with the country's sort of religious beliefs. Most players being scouted fit one or two of those categories. And as it embarks this massive expansion. But what's going to be really interesting is if this is always going to be the case, or are they going to go with a strategy which is similar to the MLS and the Chinese Super League? So both went big. Both went big to start off with, big names. MLS, David Beckham, the Chinese Super League, big names. A lot of Brazilian players as well went to the Chinese Super League. And then they made a conscious decision to pivot towards more domestic talent after a few years of chasing the superstar names. Same as the MLS, still has the power to bring in a Lionel Messi, for example, or Busquets or Suarez. But the days of having Steven Gerrard, Wayne Rooney, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, all within the same league are far off now. Both have got foreign player quotas. They've all got wage caps. And will the Saudi Pro League follow suit and eventually scale back the name first scouting practices for domestic talent? Possibly. We won't find that out for the next 2, 3, 4 years, maybe. But the idea very firmly at the moment is buy and buy big, and buy big ticket names. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. As I said, it's slightly diverted, it's slightly pivoted from the MLS and the CLS in terms of their original ideas, in that they were going for more, the likes of Ruben Neves, the likes of Milinkovic Savic. These guys aren't at the end of the scrap heap. They've still got, Ruben Neves could have 10 years on him, you know what I mean? And even more so playing maybe in a lower league in terms of the Saudi league, in terms of intensity. And that to me slightly pivots away from the trajectory, is that the right word, for the CLS and the MLS. But again, we don't know. It's all in hindsight, isn't it? We don't know what's going to happen. But it's fascinating. I think it's fascinating to see, because it just adds another wrinkle in transfer rumours. We could be everything ready to go, ready. Everything's going to happen, and then bosh, an SPL side, like the whole thing with Kylian MBAPPE. nailed on going to be Real Madrid next summer. Nailed on. PSG, right? Okay. Well, if you're not going to sign anything, you're going to stay in the reserves, that type of thing, or you go now and no. I'll set up my contract. Not going to do a new deal. Bosh. Hello here, 300 million euros just changes the dynamics, and I think it's quite. I find it fascinating. I find the whole transfer process fascinating. I know it frustrates me to hell, but I find it really interesting. I really do. But let me know your thoughts. I just thought it'd be interesting to do something a little bit different. But anyway, let me know what you think. Take care. Stay safe. Stay healthy. All that good stuff. If you like what we do, don't forget to hit the bell notification, like button, subscribe, comment, all that type of thing. Maybe become a channel member. Be lovely as well. Join the West Ham Network members, Barmy Army. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.